Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Battle Podcast, episode 4, where two content creators battle it out for either their favorite drivers or, in this case, their favorite teams. And we are joined here tonight by Josh Revell from New Zealand, and he will be supporting his fellow countryman's team, Mclaren. Hello, Josh. How are you doing?
Fantastic. Way too early in the day, but otherwise fantastic.
Well, you know what they say: the early bird catches the worm, and
The
defending.
early worm catches the bird.
Yeah, also good. And the other content creator is Mr. Pulse, and he is defending Ferrari. Hello, Darren. How are you doing?
Hello. I am doing fine, thank you, Wim. I'm doing great. I'm a Ferrari fan. What's not to love?
Yeah.
Actually, turns out not a great deal is there to love, but I am happy enough anyway. Yeah, how are you doing, Gabago?
Oh, well, I'm sure you can conjure up a few things that are brilliant about Ferrari. And that puts
Thanks, Charles.
that puts us right into the first topic of tonight's podcast, and that's the flex, where the two creators get the chance to flex what they love about the respectable teams they are supporting. Who wants to start?
I'll start, I think. Well, let's get it out of the way straight away. Ferrari is Formula One. There's no other way around it. Ferrari is the team in Formula One. When you think Formula One, you think of Ferrari. You don't think of that orange box on wheels. You don't think about Red Bull. You think about Ferrari. Now, admittedly, when you talk about Ferrari, it's like Man United if you were a football fan, and it's a bit more talking about the history and the past success as opposed to any current success, given they've not really won anything for almost 20 years. But even so, Ferrari's Formula One. It's the biggest team. It's the thing that everyone loves. And I mean, at the moment, they've got two of, I would say, well, they've got the greatest driver in F1's history. Sorry, Wim, in Lewis Hamilton. And they've got arguably one of the, if not the fastest drivers over one lap in Charles Leclerc right now. So they've got a great driver lineup. That is something that is quite exciting. I know Lewis is at the back end of his career, but even so, it's still a driver lineup that's exciting. The team brings history and lineage all the way back to the beginning, even further back than McLaren. Nice try, McLaren, but you're not quite there yet when it comes to how far back you go. And yeah, that's it. Like, I love Ferrari, I love Formula One. Other things like just the passion that the Italian fans have as well. I mean, I'm a big fan of Italy and Italians in general, but yeah, I love that sort of thing that they do. I mean, the Italian Grand Prix is almost always pretty special just because of the Tifosi. Sometimes, they get a bit overzealous, but in general, it's an amazing atmosphere every single time. And yeah, I love Ferrari because of that. I grew up watching Schumacher, so I've got it from that. Like, I grew up watching Schumacher, the V10s, and the utter dominance that they had then. And it's something that as I've grown up with. Admittedly, these days I sort of just accept that those days are well behind me. But yeah, that's my thing for Ferrari.
Okay, and do you know anything about the history? Because I was in the Ferrari Museum in July. Maranello is all about Ferrari. And next year we're probably going back, and then we'll go to the Enzo Ferrari Museum. But are you interested in that side of the team?
Of course, yeah. I mean, that's the thing as well with Ferrari. Like you say, Maranello, the entire place is dedicated to Ferrari. Like, there's no other team that has like an entire town basically dedicated to their Formula One team. And it is more down to Ferrari being the national team of Italy when it comes to motorsport and Formula One. But you haven't got like Red Bull's not like Milton Keynes don't all come out in force for Red Bull, and Woking don't come out in force for McLaren, like that sort of thing. So it is different. It's Ferrari is just special like that, and yeah, I love like the history of Ferrari, even through like the when you look back, the Lauda coming back from his near-death experience with them to winning with Ferrari as well, getting his world championships. Of course, the Schumacher era that I already mentioned. You've got even more recently, it's not quite been as special, but even so, like the Fernando years where Fernando was dragging that Ferrari that maybe wasn't as good as the other cars, but he was still dragging it to almost championship success. Vettel tried, and then he started spinning a lot. And now, all right, Charles's constant heartache. It's like, bloody hell, he can't do anything. He tries, he gets there, and then the team let him down these days. But that, that was it. Like Ferrari, the history, everything. Just, I love it. I love it. I like pasta.
Did you see the Enzo Ferrari movie?
I have, yes. I watched it. It's got some of the worst CGI you could ever see in your entire life.
And you know what also bugs me?
The Mille incident with the, what was it, at the Mille where the car just like catapulted through the air and yeah, it kills a few people. But I love that film for the wrong reasons. But I like that film.
I just hate it when English speaking actors put on an Italian accent just to point out that it's in Italy. In Italy.
I'm an Italian. I am Italian.
No, but I mean, I know I would have liked it better if it was done in Italian in the original language. And
that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, they needed famous people in it, and so
Italians ain't selling in America. Let's put it that way.
No. So this was your flex for Ferrari. Are you impressed, Josh, with this?
I'm glad that I chose McLaren, truthfully. Because even in my semi-comatose state, this isn't going to be hard to pick apart, to put together a sound argument for the fact that this is just the best team that Formula One has had in terms of everything except for passion. That's the thing. It's always a reliance on passion.
That's the Ferrari way.
And I love Ferrari as much as the next guy. It is the only way with Ferrari. If we take away the Schumacher years, what have you got? You got 70 years of pain and misery, even stretching on to
today. I'm English. I'm used to it.
Two best drivers on the grids, and you can't do nothing. True, granted. That's why us over here, 5 million people, live in southern Scotland. But I mean, what else can you say other than in every decade of McLaren's existence, they've won stuff like. Ferrari talk about the passion. They talk about, the Schumacher years. They rely on those two chestnuts constantly. Yet, with McLaren, with almost everyone that they've had, they've won stuff with them. Senna, Prost, Lando Norris, but they've had success all across the board. All the time. Like, do I want to bring up the stats here? My mind's not really going anywhere, but we're not even at 1,000 race starts yet, and you're already, it's going to be 10 constructors championships and 13 drivers championships, over 200 race wins. Do we want to keep on going and going here?
No, that's
and we talk about, yes, okay, the orange cars don't have as much history and reference with the fans as the red ones do. At least the orange ones, save for Zandvoort, don't end up on the side of the road in a pile of its own steam. The success formula
that's Ferrari passion. That is Italian passion
in the history of the world. The MP44, that thing obliterated the field. Had it not been for that damn replacement driver at Williams and Monza, it would have had a complete 100% record that year. Only McLaren would have had that. And what else can I say, really? Other than it just personifies success. Ferrari, on the other hand, if we take away the Schumacher years, what have you got?
Well, that's a good point, Josh.
That was a way harder debate than I thought it was going to be. My mind just completely gave up on me as soon as the first words came out of my mouth.
But can you tell us something about Bruce McLaren? Isn't he from the same town as you're from, or am I mistaken?
Yeah, Auckland, New Zealand. He built his empire out of a rented garage because, of course, that's the way all the best success stories happen. Through, building something out of already built parts in a rented garage. What's more romantic than that?
Yeah. A lot of big tech companies started that way. Like Apple.
Yeah, very true. Very true. That's then he went over to the UK with a bunch of his mates, took on the might of Europe. It took a little bit of time before things started to get the ball rolling. But in the interim, went over to America for the Can-Am, dominated over there. Once they had their fit over there, came back to the UK, started winning stuff with Emerson Fittipaldi, and then the legacy just grew from there.
Yeah. But didn't that Pan Am thing cost his life in the end?
The Can-Am?
The Can-Am, sorry.
Yeah, a touch of death is probably necessary in the making of a great legend.
All good stories have a bit of death.
Let's look at Ferrari. Enzo Ferrari sent many babies out to die. Bruce gave his own life for the team.
Yeah.
What's more romantic than that?
That's true. But wasn't he doing two types of racing at the time? Wasn't he doing Formula 1 and that Can-Am? Wasn't it the case that those drivers drove their race cars to the track themselves across the country? Or did I pick up on that wrong?
I think back in the 50s, 60s, 70s of Formula 1, if you weren't doing something else, you were kind of viewed as pompous. Like, there was only eight races on the schedule back then. You needed something to do in the interim. Yeah. And that was kind of how you made your living, was that you raced everywhere around the world.
Yeah. No, that's a beautiful, compelling story about McLaren. And that brings us to the next topic, which is the shade. Both creators get the time now to put shade on the other team. Now, Josh, you've already started a little bit with everything you didn't like about Ferrari. Do you want to continue, or do you want to give Darren the opportunity to say something?
I'll just reiterate my points. Like, with Ferrari, we always rely on that damn passion element. And you brought up the Alonso season in 2012. Yeah, granted, amazing stuff. The fact that he had to drive a car, so categorically crap that Red Bull had to afford every opportunity at them being mid in certain areas just for Fernando to be able to get up to the front. I love eyebrows as much as the next guy, but the fact that he maximized that damn season in that crap box and he still couldn't win the championship just proves how much of a lock that damn thing was. And yet, that was a shining beacon for Ferrari. Like, every single, like apart from the Schumacher years, every single time we talk about Ferrari excellence, it's down to the driver overcoming the shitbox that they're driving. Well, what more can I say? 1979, Jody Scheckter wins the world championship. Gilles Villeneuve should have won, but they were top of the world. The next year, they developed a car so crap, Jody Scheckter didn't qualify for one of the races and forced him to retire from the damn sport. Gilles Villeneuve should have been world champion. He wasn't because Ferrari were Ferrari.
Yeah. That's true.
This team, however, this team infuriates me to no end, and you know it as well as I do, Pulse. You cannot defend the mass infuriation-gasm that this thing gives everybody on Earth, because this is a team that should be, with all its resources, performing exponentially better than it does. And if you take off If you take out Michael Schumacher from out of the equation, what you're left with is a hollow freaking team held up by the allure of passion and Italianisms, which, frankly, in the world of professional sport and Formula One, when you got a team that actually performs well, I don't know, man. I'm just not for it.
Well, I'm not supposed to help my creators here, but didn't Charles Leclerc have a couple of really nice wins in 2019? And how did that happen?
Yeah. Yeah, how did that happen? Was the engine somewhat a little bit healthier than it should have been?
Like, I don't
had a bit of extra power.
I
do admit it had a little bit of extra power.
I don't want to put
a little few too many prancing horses. Yes.
I don't want to put fuel on the fire.
It's you make a good point. Like, you both want to go for the jugular. That's fine. I get
I'll
it.
help you in a minute.
Everyone loves Ferrari. We got Red Bull, we got McLaren fans coming for the poor little Ferrari fans. But you wanted to mention Fernando Alonso. So let's talk about Fernando Alonso and his stint at McLaren. How did that go? Yes, in 2007 when he was there for 1 year before everything cocked up, he did quite well. But let's talk about that second stint, shall we? How did that second stint go? How was the McLaren Honda years? The McLaren Honda years where they spent so much time at the side of the road that you didn't even realise they were actually still competing. They had so many grid penalties at Spa, they may as well have been 3 races back. 75 place grid penalty for you, 75 place grid penalty for Button. Alonso, Button, why do you even bother turning up? McLaren have had such a bad period. In fact, they are doing so well now. But even start of this era, what were they doing? They had Ricciardo and Norris at the back of the field. Okay, yeah, great. They've developed their car quite well. And I'll admit, they've done a better job than Ferrari in the ground effect era. I think everyone can pretty much say that with... everyone can admit they have. But look at McLaren as well. They've had their bad periods. And even, we go back to the Schumacher years. McLaren, they had Adrian Newey. And what did they do? They didn't do that great with Adrian Newey. They did perform quite well, but they had years where they were awful. In fact, they also spent a lot of those years at the side of the track as well. Before that, into the 90s, yeah, great, you won 98 and 99. Let's talk about before then, where you had that period in the 90s where actually McLaren, they were dipping awfully. In fact, you couldn't even keep good manufacturers on board. You had to go to Peugeot. Like, who wants Peugeot? Who wants a French manufacturer powering their cars? Nobody wants them. In fact, even then, let's come back to more modern times. Speaking of French manufacturers, you went to Renault. How did that go after having Honda? It didn't go very well now, did it? You had a slow power unit and you had a shitbox of a chassis. Whereas Ferrari were consistent, if a bit illegal at times. But again, Ferrari passion, who cares?
Wow.
Wimbo, can you help me, please? Because I think McLaren have done a better job than Ferrari recently.
Well, I don't want to dip into the modern day McLaren too much because we're gonna talk about the future. But yeah, the first thing that pops into my mind is that it's a little bit too controlled and too commercial. The McLaren team, too much.
That is one thing.
Too much of pleasing the sponsors.
Yeah, that's one thing, and I'll be a bit more serious now, like with McLaren. I mean, McLaren is doing a wonderful job. Like, let's not like deny that they have cleaned this season up, and they've done an amazing job. However, this drivers' championship fight, it is between both of their drivers. Let's be serious. It's perhaps the dullest inter-team championship battle that you could ever have. And I don't know what it is about the McLaren way, but there's something so off-putting about it. Let's go back to the previous race at Monza, where they messed up Norris's pit stop, and then we have literally them get on the radio and go, Oscar, can you please let Lando go through? we messed up the pit stop. Like that's a part of racing, and that is something that McLaren has actually just taken away by going, yeah, we're going to swap the places. We've messed up and we're going to swap the places. Like, no, that's a part of racing. Like, teams make mistakes. The drivers are a part of a team. And when you've got the two drivers who are in your team fighting for the Drivers' Championship, I know they haven't won the Constructors' Championship yet, but they're going to. Why are we not letting them race? Like, really, we should be letting them race a lot harder than that. Maybe it's because of incidents like Canada where Lando just drove straight into the back of Oscar, but
they were already controlling everything before that. Like, the biggest talking point was Hungary 2024, where they asked drivers to swap for a win.
They asked them to swap then as well, and that one is I still think Budapest 2024 is completely different to Monza 2025. Both instances are driver swap positions. That bit I will accept, but Budapest in 2024, let's be real, nobody actually truly believed Lando was going to close the gap to Max Verstappen. At least I hope nobody actually was believing that was going to happen. Whereas in Monza, it's your two drivers who are fighting. And I still don't actually understand why Oscar got out of the way. Josh, I'd like to hear your opinion on it. If you were Oscar Piastri at Monza, would you have gotten out of the way for your championship rival because your team told you to?
It's a dog-eat-dog world in Formula One, and your next chance at a title can be potentially your only chance. So sometimes you just gotta say, tough, that's racing. And if the same thing happens to me next time, I don't expect you to get out of my way. And you're right. This is our generation's 1996. You look at both these drivers and you think, I don't want any of you damn bastards to win this championship. That's the majestic nature of McLaren, is that they can take two drivers who are pretty good, not Max Verstappen, not Lewis Hamilton, not Charles Leclerc, not Mojave Raghunathan, and could still win the championship so comprehensively with those two. Meanwhile, you want to talk about teams that have questionable team decision tactics, questionable decisions as to who goes ahead of who on the track? Well, Mr. Ferrari, just this year alone, never mind the previous years, where you hear the exacerbated voices on the team radios from the drivers asking, why are we doing this all the time? And the pain echoes throughout the fan bases through the hills of Tuscany, even though Maranello is not in Tuscany. But the point is that you know as well as I do that bringing up the whole debacle about this year's McLaren, where they are soft with regards to who should be ahead of who. And maybe, yes, they want Lando to win the championship because it is a bit more marketable for a British driver to win the championship with a New Zealand team. But you know what? Irrespective, at the very least, they have the luxury of being able to make these decisions with the two championships already sewn up. And yeah, the sterile environment, as you talked there, Wim. Yes, granted, Woking is a sterile environment. Nothing is ever going to get birthed out of there other than an F1 car. But still, the F1 cars that do get birthed out of there, well, we're seeing the fruits of that labor right now, aren't we?
Well, that's true.
I could go. I can go on forever, but we've all got stuff to do in the day, and you guys have sleep to catch up on. So I'll just shut up for now.
Well, no, I just have one question. Why did McLaren
ask me two questions?
Okay. Well, why did McLaren need the blueprints of a Ferrari car in 2000? What was it?
It was just a reference.
Some reference points there on a car that would actually turn up and perform.
And you need to be
Back in the day, of course.
you need to be part of Ferrari to go to like a public shop to fax it all out and get it copied.
Hang about. What about back in the early 1950s, where Enzo was so at sea with his cars that he needed to buy a car from freaking Lancia, developed by Alberto Ascari, to get anywhere near the top of the rostrum. And by the time that Ferrari took over the Lancia and started developing it, it killed the Warthog and ridded the potential of the latest Italian World Championship champion since 1953. Okay. So they butchered a World Championship winning car, which they just straight up bought from a rival. Rather than
it was legal
tracing.
then, though.
Tracing.
It was legal.
Car, which is admittedly a little bit underhanded, but you know.
Yeah.
Suppose.
And then the guy winds up dead.
You know. Minor details.
Enough of the past. Should we talk about the future?
Hey, you're taking over. You're taking over my podcast. Very good.
This is what the passion does.
I don't want to talk about the past anymore.
Okay, well,
hijacking shows, taking hostages, everything.
I don't mind. Like, I'm an amateur, so I need all the help I can get. Now, I don't think we have to talk about how this year's going to finish. It's going to be one of the McLaren drivers, and the constructors is already for McLaren. But we can talk about 2026. What are we hearing about the 2026 season in regard to the engine and the package and the driver lineup? Go ahead, Josh. What do you think is going to happen in 2026 with McLaren?
Well, I'm hearing a lot of good things about the Mercedes power unit, and they're already, they've already got a head start with regards to their development. I can't imagine why they'd still be developing their current car. Yes, Max did beat the crap out of them in Monza, but that wasn't really just about the car performance. That was just Max being Max. And Max isn't going to... Max, for all his greatness, and as much as I love that guy, I almost swore, sorry. But again, that's passion coming out here. As much as I love Max, he's not going to overhaul the McLarens by the end of the year. Thus, it allows a chance for McLaren to switch focus on toward next year. It's not historically been completely prudent because in the past, McLaren and Ferrari had the best car in 2008. They didn't have that in 2009. Mercedes had the best car in 2021, arguably, large portions of the year. And we know how 2022 went. So, in theory, McLaren should, have a top dog car for 2026. But also, in theory, they probably will develop a dog. So, in conclusion, I've got no idea. It's just that I, as an F1 YouTuber, actually have the balls to admit that I don't know what the hell I'm talking about.
No, it can either go good or bad. And either one...
It's a little vague, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's a little vague, isn't it? It's just like looking at food in a restaurant. It's like, I might get food poisoning or I might be okay.
Who knows? I think that's the thing.
Is Ferrari, you can guarantee the food poisoning, though.
Yeah, it'll taste good at the time, though. That's the thing. It'll taste good at the time before the poisoning comes. That is actually a good point. Like, with 2026, like, let's be honest, nobody's got a clue what's actually going to happen and who's going to have a dog of a car, who's going to have a good car, anything like that. I'd say the one thing going into 2026 is, at least in 2026, my thoughts are that the manufacturers, the actual manufacturer teams will have the edge, if that makes sense, like over their customers. And so I do think Mercedes should have the better car. I know McLaren have like a working relationship with Mercedes these days. However, we're going into a brand new power unit regulation cycle. I wouldn't be surprised if Mercedes have like tiny bits that they're just keeping in their pocket. And I think going into 2026, it sounds like Mercedes powered teams should have the edge. I think when you're gonna have a bad year, Red Bull, you're building your own engine. Red Bull, good luck. You're gonna really need it. And Ford, great. You're building some ERS systems. We'll see how they go. Probably not as well as you're hoping, but I think like with the manufacturers, I see them having the edge. So Ferrari might not have as good of a power unit as Mercedes, but I think they should be in a better position than than the other Mercedes customers, if that makes sense. But, just through being a actual manufacturer.
But what do you expect
team.
from Ferrari then? Your team?
Well, Ferrari is my team. They're not going to beat Mercedes. If the rumors are to be believed, Mercedes has won anyway. So, I'm not actually fully expecting Ferrari to beat Mercedes, all the Mercedes power teams, because, well, I've been watching F1 for over 25 years. I've seen what it's been like for the last 16 of them. But I do think Ferrari should be in a better position. I think they'll be in a better position than McLaren. I do think that. And also, I'm actually quite interested to see how Lewis gets on next year. Because they're moving away a little bit from ground effect cars. If Lewis is to be believed, and it's not just that he's on a downward spiral, like I kind of think it is, if they're moving away from ground effect cars, maybe he'll have a better feel next year. Charles is unbelievably fast. He'll drag whatever dog of a car to a great performance. I mean, he got a couple of poles in 2021 with a Ferrari that had no right being at the front. He almost won the bloody British Grand Prix. Admittedly, it's because someone got fired into a wall with 51 Gs, but he almost won the British Grand Prix in a Ferrari that had no right being there. But yeah, 2026 should be okay, I think, for Ferrari. I don't think it's going to be as strong as Mercedes. I think they're going to beat McLaren, because I don't think McLaren's going to have as good of a car. I'm hoping not anyway. But again, we don't know. We shall see. I mean, the cars, who knows? Who knows? Who knows? Nobody knows.
I posted a video this week about Lewis Hamilton. I looked into the regulations, and I looked at the new car. I researched with all the drivers who use the sim, what they all said about the car, and to me it feels very gimmicky. A lot of power coming out of turns, and battery power that can be deployed at different points, and an overtaking system with an X and a Y. Alex Albon said that the drivers who have really high adaptability and a lot of extra headspace, they'll do well in these new regulations. So the drivers I think that are going to do well are Max, because he's always on the sim. He's always racing, looking at TV screens, listening to what's happening there, and watching what's happening everywhere else. If he hears a wheel gun, he says, "Did the Ferraris just pit?" That's Max in his extra headspace. Fernando Alonso has that. I think Bortoleto, with all his gaming that he does, also has it. Then George Russell and Charles Leclerc, that they're still pretty young and adaptable. But drivers who are going to suffer, I think, are going to be Nico Hülkenberg, who's already losing the qualifying battle against the rookie. Lewis Hamilton is going to struggle with all the new gimmicky stuff, and that there's less ground effect, and his late braking might come into play. That might help him one or two races, but for the rest, I don't have very high hopes for Lewis Hamilton. And as for where all the teams stand, I listen to all the chatter, and indeed the biggest thing I keep hearing is Mercedes is going to be best, and then the people with Mercedes cars, they're going to be just beneath them. But I think all the teams that develop engines, they're going to be very close to each other because it's still like a hybrid from the hybrid engine we had. It's not that much different. I think the difference is going to be in the battery that they develop. Adrian Newey said that there's a lot of room to be creative on the new cars. So I'm expecting quite a lot from Aston Martin as well, with their Honda engines and an Adrian Newey car. And then
didn't he already express optimism, or rather lack of optimism, for 2026 and said, we're not going to win next year? If Adrian Newey says that, do we take that as him sort of playing it low, or him outwardly saying, look, until Lawrence stops his nepotism picks, we're not going to get anywhere?
Well, he also said that he wasn't going to do anything with this year's car. And then I do hear that he's having...
So is he a liar?
Well, sometimes you just say things to temper expectations.
I think there's two very different ways.
We're all equal here at McLaren. And then, having the battle that we are right now.
No, but I mean...
I think there's two very different ways of going about it, though, isn't there? Like, we've got Mercedes are coming out swinging. Toto is saying all the things he's saying on purpose. Like, he's basically going, we're going to almost hit 400 kilometers per hour or whatever he said. He's saying that for a reason. He's coming out swinging next year. Whereas I think Aston and Adrian specifically is going down the cautious route. I don't think he wants to give that away. Adrian never does, though. I don't think Adrian Newey's ever said, we're going to be amazing.
No.
So well, we just got to wait and see. I think that's the Adrian Newey, the Newey way.
Yeah.
Maybe it's why he's so successful. Who knows?
But he's quite a modest man, but he's also he has his pride, and I think Christian Horner took away a little bit of his pride by saying that he that Adrian Newey walks in whenever he wants to and only work like 3 days a week, and that didn't sit well with him. But this podcast is about Ferrari and McLaren. Let's leave the Red Bull troubles out of it. I'll defend Red Bull someday against someone. Has anybody else something to add? No. Well,
I don't know.
Yeah,
it's just like we've all said our piece. I think really at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the McLaren Ferrari battle next year, what's the term? Early worm catches the bird.
Yeah. Yeah, and McLaren, they started on the new development of the new car much earlier because they were so far ahead. That makes sense. So, yeah, McLaren's going to be champion. Rob Marshall is going to develop a car that's going to be so stable and such a great platform to build everything else on that it's going to be McLaren.
Stable, great platform. These new words to you, Pulse.
They are not Italian. I don't know what any of those words mean. What is stability? What is stability anymore? I don't even know what that is.
It must be
please enlighten.
It must be the water.
But next year Ferrari could do okay. Could. Like I said, I think the manufacturers will have a bit of an edge.
Yeah.
I don't know what Ferrari's done, like with how early they've actually given up on their car, because there was supposedly only going to be like a few upgrades and then that was it. But they've actually continued to still upgrade into the season. So what they say and what they do, typical Ferrari, two very different things. Who actually knows? Maybe if they burn a bit of extra oil next year, they might be okay, but we shall see.
Yeah. Well,
the typical Ferrari mindset, the typical Ferrari sort of strategy of trying to determine their mindset before they could change it. Or at least that's how it is with Charles every race. where that's his reaction. That's his relationship with the strategy team. Whenever
I
they
think
come
Charles
to him
is a
with a
broken
strategy,
man.
he has to decipher. Yeah, he has to decipher. Are they punking me right now, or are they being right?
Are you serious,
Why
or are
is it
you
that
just
every single
memeing right
time
now?
an alternative strategy through a Ferrari driver is typically better than the one emitted from the pit wall?
The
Does
A
that
to
not kind of
Z's.
tell you how broken they are?
But
Whereas with McLaren, if Lando had just listened, he may have won his first race a little earlier.
yeah, that's true. But I listen to Lando Norris radios once in a while, and I've never heard a
I
drive.
sympathize with you.
I've never heard a driver being coddled more than he does. Like that Will Joseph, he pretty
Lewis Hamilton.
he probably tells him to breathe in, breathe out, steer to the left, steer to the right, press that little red button. No, not that one. You're doing okay. You're my Pookie. That's how it sounds over the radio.
Lando is definitely like a coddled driver. Like it does have to be say. Like he's there is one positive with Lando, and I will say this because I'm not a huge Lando fan, but there is one positive with him. When he cocks up, he does immediately like go, yeah, that was my fault. Like I actually do like that about him, where he's always like, yeah, that was my bad. That was my bad. But yeah, he is a driver that is he's coddled. Charles, on the other hand, is left kicking and screaming all on his own, and they're like, "Yeah, screw you. We're just gonna give you some sarky response. Yeah, that's the water. It must be the water.
I will
Thank you,
never
Charles."
forgive Ferrari 2022, what they did to Charles. They had an opportunity that year. And you and I both know this pulse. Deep down, as much as I am defending this sterile, boring, but beautifully successful team, that nothing matches Ferrari. I will admit that much. And we both know the joy, because I was there in Australia when Charles won the Grand Prix. And when memories wouldn't be great for you, since Max was catering to his barbecue at turn 2, but it just felt like back in the Schumacher days for just a little bit. 2 wins from 3, utter domination. Charles not facing the slightest, he just ran away, doing what Charles does. There was hope. And the second it got to Italy, things just fell apart. So we both knew the euphoria that we briefly held for a moment. And I say this to my half Italian mate here in New Zealand. Ferrari, seriously, is the team that gives you a little bit of hope and then it takes it away. Best way to stop the rot, really, is to take the control of Ferrari away from the Italians.
I agree.
Which is
I
and now
actually
it's run
do
by
agree with that.
and now it's run by a Frenchman, and it's not going any better.
Yeah, don't have it by the French.
No.
I mean, okay, the last time they had a Frenchman running it, it did go well, though. I mean, it was a different small Frenchman. Maybe they just need to get him back. But yeah, like that is it. They give you a little bit of hope, and then they immediately crush it. I mean, like I said, there was that at Imola, Spain. His power unit went. Baku, his power unit went again. France, I think he just had enough and threw himself into the wall. That's the Ferrari way. That is just. In fact, you can even say the same. What was it? Sebastian in 2017. He was so close. And then he had power unit failure, power unit failure, power unit penalty. Lance Stroll took him out after a Grand Prix. And there went the dreams. And then 2018, again, he had a chance, but he was getting so hyped up himself, he started spinning everywhere, thinking he'd already won, bless him. That's just Ferrari. That's the Ferrari way.
Ferrari, the destroyer of dreams.
Do you have one for McLaren then, Darren?
The McLaren.
Do your worst.
How could I do anything worse about the best team on the grid by like a country mile?
Oh, you could say something
It's
like
very difficult.
McLaren. They're winning, but they give you the ick.
Yeah, they give you the ick. They make you want to fall asleep. Not just because they're winning so much, because they're so bloody dull. They can't do anything to make it interesting. They give you a chance and then they go, no, we're not going to do it. They even did it in Australia. Australia was clear cut, like McLaren were going to win. Max tried, but he was starting to fall away. And then McLaren immediately go, whoa. What do you think you're doing, Oscar? What do you think you're doing? You're getting close to Lando. Are you crazy? Are you insane? He's our boy. What are you doing to him? Yeah. And then he fell off track as well. But they didn't even give us the entertainment from round 1. And then thankfully, Lando didn't give us the entertainment from rounds 2 to like 4 because he couldn't do qualifying very well. And then as we go on, as the season goes on, we get a little bit of excitement. We get a little bit of action. At, what was it, Canada, and Lando crashed into the back of Oscar. After that, they start giving Lando strategies that you could say are the better strategies, whether that be Austria, Budapest, maybe even Spa. No, not Spa. But he has had better strategies more often than not recently. Why are they doing that? They say they don't actually have 2 number 1s, but they've been giving Lando better strategies. Well, what do you think? Do you think they're actually actively helping Lando a little bit?
What makes you say that? What could possibly insinuate that Lando is the favorite driver at McLaren? What next? Michael Schumacher was the favorite driver at Ferrari? That Santa Claus actually resides in Wisconsin and not the North Pole? What next? What could you possibly say here? And yes, granted, McLaren are not making this any easier to watch the season. But them being so sterile and boring means that there's no distractions, which is why they are where they are. Ferrari's just perpetual chaos, which is why they are where they are.
Hey, even in Budapest, Ferrari gave me hope and took it away. Going back to your point of that's what Ferrari do. They gave me that hope Ferrari in Budapest. They were doing so well, and then that final stop came and they raised the right height.
Never trust Ferrari when they're doing well.
Pressure.
Right.
I trust Ferrari. I trust Ferrari in the lead of a race the same way that I trust the New Zealand football team when they're 1 goal up on a team. It's just like, give it 10 minutes. And 5 goals behind.
That's a good analogy. So, guys, do you have any plans with your channels at the moment? Anything big coming up? I know Mr. Pulse has a new project.
I do have a new project.
If you want to plug it, then now's the moment.
Yeah, I guess I shall do then. Thank you so much. I don't really need to talk about Mr. Pulse. I've been on your channel before and talked about my channel. The brief overview: I am a content creator that does data analysis and preview and predictions for most Grand Prix. That's about it, really, for my channel. But the new project is Crash Happy. It's a podcast. So a podcast, and I am now promoting a podcast on a podcast. It's just what I do. But yeah, the Crash Happy podcast, it is with myself, Mr. Pulse, Dan No Skill, Formula Duck, Mr. V, and Not Applicable. It's an F1-ish podcast. We are talking F1, but we're also just talking anything that comes to us that we want to talk about. It's a lot more relaxed. We don't just need to talk about F1 because, frankly, F1 most of the time is pretty boring. Let's be honest. F1 is a sport where it's about the moments, but in general, when there's not many moments, it's pretty boring. So that's our podcast, Crash Happy. Please feel free to check it out. It's a lot of fun. We have a lot of good laughs in making it.
I haven't checked it out yet, but I promise I will. And Josh, I'm going to watch your Kimi Antonelli video tomorrow morning. I'll probably get up at about 6 o'clock, just because I can't sleep any longer. I'm going to get myself a nice big cup of coffee in my Max Verstappen mug. and I'm going to watch your video. I do that most Saturdays. I usually when they're nice and long, like a 24-minute video with a lot of story in it. I really enjoy that. So have you got anything else coming up?
Thank you.
In that sense,
it's a bit of a hodgepodge of stuff. So yeah, whatever comes out, comes out. And if you don't like whatever I do, trust me, I like it a lot less than you guys do.
Right. Well, on that
I'm
note,
the only person with as much self-deprecation as Charles Leclerc does.
Oh God, I am stupid. Oh, that race is coming up. The I am stupid race. Baku.
Another one for him to put it on pole and not win. Another one, 4 in a row.
But didn't he crash during qualifying?
Azerbaijan, yeah.
Azerbaijan? Or was it during the race?
He crashed in qualifying and a power unit failed there as well. And he lost last year because he couldn't have any balls to pass Pistree. Azerbaijan is not a happy hunting ground for Charles Leclerc.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, Azerbaijan's an interesting one for Charles. He's unbelievably fast. Like, I don't think there's any denying that. In 2019, I think he could have gotten pole, I think, going into that weekend. It was looking pretty solid for him until he had a meeting with a castle. 2020, obviously, there wasn't a race. 2021, I think he got pole position for that in that dog of a Ferrari. Admittedly, it didn't last very long. 2022, he was dominating the Grand Prix until his power unit failed. 2023, he got pole position again, and then the race happened, and Red Bull were just a bit too strong in races in 2023. And then 2024 got pole again, dominated the early portion of the Grand Prix, then went onto the hard tyres, and Ferrari remembered that they couldn't fire up hard tyres last season. And it all fell apart very, very quickly after that. And it helped that McLaren had an illegal rear wing that slightly opened when they weren't actually using it.
I remember that footage.
I don't think Josh remembers it. I think he's forgotten about that coincidentally. But yeah, it's been a happy one-lap hunting ground. And maybe he'll get pole again this year and probably still not win the Grand Prix.
I'll say to Charles there the same thing that every teenager needs to hear. Being fast doesn't matter if the euphoria only lasts for 10 seconds. So,
right, guys.
He needs to win a damn race there.
I want to thank you so much for watching, and the viewers as well. Please subscribe to all of our channels if you haven't done so already. And I bid you all farewell. Take care now. Doei doei.
Bye.